It's Terra Papers 1, Part 3. And as we had it, Ea thought that creating this Adamus beast that would help the Anunnaki, he thought that Anu would agree that Ea would be now king of Eridu, but it helped Enlil become more powerful and stay in Eridu as Lord of Command and Word. So this really ticked Ea off, and he took off to the other side of the planet where he worked with his sister Nin Hershag, also built gold mines as well. The Adamus beast was sitting there, and it was enslaved basically. So what happened was, with Ea's revenge, he had to continue working, and Enlil commanded that the Adamus beast would get the DNA from the Anunnaki, but Ea instead decided to use his own DNA. That's where we get the son of the god thing. Dog is in reverse because Sirius is the dog star. So the Adamus beast did serve the Anunnaki well, and Enlil always thought that the Adamus beast was disposable. He worked it to death, and if it died, it died. He didn't really care. So Ea wanted this Adamus beast to be free, because he knew himself as an Asur royal bloodline, he was never free. So he wanted this animal, this beast, to be free, this primitive man. So Enlil was very strict with the breeding schedule, and it was only up to his approval. This was in the Garden of Eden. So Ea, which is the snake in the Garden of Eden, that was later changed. The stories were changed by Ra and Isis, Ishtar, Lilith, whatever. But Ea later introduces unsupervised sex, and that's his symbol is the two entwined snakes, which are the DNA symbol of the DNA structures. That's the Kundalini energy that goes up the spine. He uses the two serpents intertwined as his symbol, and he shows the Adamus beast how to have some fun in the garden and have unsupervised sex. So Enlil catches on to this. He's furious that this Adamus beast has been playing around and not working hard. He catches them. They're aroused. He kicks them out of the garden. The ones that obey are the Adamus beasts that get to stay in the garden. The other ones are cast out into the wilderness. That's the Genesis story. And he orders them to not listen to any of the no other gods. He orders them to not listen to Ea and the other Anunnaki. And he sets up a seventh-day obedience class for the Adamus beast that's in the garden, so that they can learn how to obey. So that's kind of like church was created. And then no mating without approval. So the Adamus beast in the garden is outside the garden, which is in the wilderness now, is called a monster. He calls Enlil calls him a muse, M-U-S. So now the Adamus beast, which is the rebel renegade beast, is called the Adamus. So there's that you get your Adam and Eve from. So it's called Adamus. Ea sees the Adamus as an opportunity for this animal or this beast, this primitive human, to be free. And he goes in with his sister Nin Hershag and teaches them how to live, survive, make clothing, fire. And these teachers that are of Ea are called Iesus later. So he teaches these guys to be independent and free, and the Adamus that stays in the garden serves Enlil, and even though they were good servants, Enlil was still not trusting of these beasts. Enlil knew that this AR flagship, another planet like Planet X, was going to come in, and it was a flagship of the Asur state. So he knew it was going to come in. He didn't warn the beasts that it was going to create a lot of gravitational pull and flooding. So he was willing to let the Adamus and the Adamus beast just die without warning. He did give the loyal Adamus beast some shelter from the flooding. There's your Noah story. You're going to see that later, because there's gods that are kind of hidden in the Bible. Obviously, it's been rewritten totally, and that's why we're getting into these Terra papers. But Enlil forbade any of the Adamus beasts to be spared, and he warned Ea that if you help them, aiding and abetting the renegade is a serious crime. Ea didn't know what to do. He was trapped. He didn't want his Adamus race to be wiped out. So what he did was he hid some of the Adamus race with the Henti lizards, which were also working for the Enlil. They were good stonemasons. They were working in the underground caverns. So Ea hid some of the Adamus underneath the ground. He put some high on the mountaintops, and then he built this cargo ship and set them out into the middle of the ocean, so that when the flooding came in, that some of these Adamus beasts would be at least spared. So Enlil finds out about this and is furious that Ea has helped his Adamus race survive, and Ea is ticked off that Enlil has done this. And so they get into this huge fight in the palace, and if they kept this up, nobody would have been king of Eridu, so they had to have a truce, or nobody would have gotten the throne. So Enlil promises not to interfere with the Adamus race, not to wipe them out again. That's part of scripture, but it's been manipulated. And so he gives some agricultural stuff to the Adamus beasts so that he can grow his own food. Now Ea, as a favor, enhances some of the hybrids of the Adamus for administration for Enlil. So these beasts end up getting educated and civilized. Now Eridu is prosperous under Enlil. Adamus made smarter in the gardens. The Henti servants, which are the lizards, they also served Enlil and the Anunnaki as well. That's the reptilian race, the Greys. And the Adamus, they were allowed, because they were outside the wilderness, they were allowed to multiply sexually. And Ea gave the Adamus a chance to appreciate beauty, art, and music. The Iesus were the teachers of them. He gave them a sense of family and belonging. And he was happy that they were not tainted by this Asur-Ar system. And he wanted to make sure the Adamus race was undesirable to the system. So he tried to keep them as free as possible, so that Enlil would not want them to be servants of the system. So the Adamus beast was they served Enlil, and Enlil was known as the Lord of Obedient Servants. He was the Lord of Command, and the Adamus beast was served Ea Enki. And Enki became Lord El of the beasts, or El Ea, or also known as Leo. And the Akhu, AKHU, they were angels. They were bird-like ancestors. These are your Genesis lords from another galaxy. They were very good geneticists. They found out about the Adamus race and wanted to help El Ea with a gift, so they gave him another strand of DNA, a third strand, as a gift for passion, so that the Adamus race would be much more passionate and feeling, even much more than the Asur-Ar empire themselves. This is called the gift of the feather, and this is what makes the human race on Earth very different, because they have this passionate angel DNA, or you can call it an owl DNA. Barbara Brown goes into this at Willa Lawa Press. The human, the forebrain is made of owl bird DNA, and then the middle brain is mammalian, which is the Sirius dog star R. And then the inner brain, somewhere along the line, Zeus, or, our DNA has been manipulated ever since Ea and Enki were kicked out by Ra. But the inner brain is reptilian, and it's later, we lost our ability to produce vitamin C, and she believes that it's from Mars, and Zeus was more of a reptilian dog cross, and he's the one that we think that the human entity has been manipulated, because Ra came back and messed with our DNA as well too. But anyway, the Anunnaki is a combination. The Anunnaki are more humanoid. Remember, they were life givers, and they have the dog and the Orion snake queen combination for their DNA. And there's 3 DNAs for the human. The human means God-man. Homo sapien means lives off the earth. And I'm taking this from the work of George Cavalis. And take a look at the Grand Deception playlist on Canada Street News at YouTube, and you'll see, especially part 2 and 3, he goes into this in detail. But I'm going to stick with the Terra Papers. The Terra Papers believe that Osiris is from Sirius, and Ishtar Isis is more Orion, but the story's been manipulated so much that we still need to go through the truth of this. But George Cavalis also talks about Diana being the original moon goddess, the mother goddess, and her name was Angel Ariel, and she used the moon as a creation life center, and she would go around and create life. And then these reptilians came down to Earth and wiped out the mother goddess figure And also he confirms that Diana Lucifera is Mary Magdalene with her twin flame, which is Yeshua, which is Iesu. I'll get into that in Terra Papers too. Bye. I'm out of time.